Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about iPhones. I actually wanted to make this video because I recently watched a video and the tips kind of blew my mind. A few of the tips I never ever knew, and I take photos on my iPhone all the time. First tip, right, this is not one of the 5 tips, but use a cloth to clean your lens. Because these lenses get absolutely filthy because they sit in our pockets all day long. We're constantly grabbing them, picking them up, touching them. So yeah, just constantly give it a clean. I sometimes clean it on my tops and things. You should probably use a cloth, but a lot of us treat iPhones a little bit worse than we would maybe cameras. We'd never clean camera lenses with our tops, but that's just me. Maybe you don't. Let me know in the comments if you think that's completely and utterly wrong to clean it with your top. But I am recommending use a cloth. So tip 1 is changing your aperture after you've took the photo. So you might not even be aware that when you're in portrait mode, you can actually pick your aperture. So you can pick how blurred you want your background to be. I'm sure you've all used portrait mode, blurs the background out, all that jazz. So up in the top right, it says f1.4 or f16, whatever you've got it on. So basically if you click that, then down at the bottom a slider pops up and you can slide from 1.4 all the way up to f16. Now 1.4 is going to give you a super blurred background and f16 is going to make sure everything's more in focus. Now you might not even know that, but what is mind-blowing is that you can take a photo at 1.4, let's say. Maybe it doesn't look that great because sometimes, because it's like digitally added, it sometimes looks a bit weird, and sometimes around the ears it can be a bit blurry and it can look a bit dodgy. And so you go into the photo that you've took with the blurred background, press edit, and then you go to the top left and you see the f2.8 or f16 or f whatever it is, and change it after you've took the photo. So if you've took it and it looks a bit fake and looks a bit weird, you can move it to maybe f5.6, which is the sweet spot for me. I really enjoy using f5.6 because I think it looks quite natural. I think when you go below that, it looks a little bit weird. But yeah, that actually blew my mind when I learned that the other day. So I thought I need to make a video and share this with you lot. I hope it blew your mind as well. Anyway, tip 2. So tip 2 is to lock, focus, and exposure. Now this tip's really good if you've set up a shot, maybe you're on a tripod, you're waiting for the perfect shot. Every time you take a photo, it's refocusing on what the phone thinks it should focus on. Maybe you've pulled the exposure down a touch and you take a photo and the phone always corrects the exposure to go back to what it thinks it should be. Now, I'm sure you know you tap to focus on the iPhones, but if you tap and hold, AEAF lock comes up. Now you've locked focus where you want it, so it's not going to refocus between shots. And you can drag down on the sun next to the focus, which is the exposure, and between shots the exposure won't automatically recorrect. So now you can keep shooting and hopefully get the perfect shot without having to mess around with your exposure and refocusing between each shot. Tip 3. Tip 3 is shooting in live mode and creating long exposures. Now I'm sure you've seen loads of cool long exposures and maybe you're wondering, how do I achieve that on my iPhone? It's actually really easy to achieve. So all you have to do is you have to make sure that your live photos are turned on. Now you do this by tapping at the top right hand corner and turning live on. Now if it's still white, that means it's off. So you have to tap on the arrow at the top and then go to live and then make sure it's on, not on auto. So if it's on, it should be yellow in the top right hand corner. So then all you need to do is take a photo of a scene where there's some sort of movement. Maybe it's at night, maybe there's cars moving through shops, maybe it's just in a busy shopping centre and there's people walking everywhere. There just needs to be some movement. So when you're taking a long exposure photo, just remember that a long exposure photo is a photo taken over a few seconds. So you've actually got to keep your phone still for a few seconds. It would be best to take long exposures on a tripod, but you can do it handheld, it just might not be as sharp. Then afterwards you go to the photo, you click live in the top left corner of the photo, and then you can pick loop, bounce, or long exposure. Now if you click long exposure, as long as you've done it correctly and you've kept your phone still and you've done all the things that I said, you'll have a long exposure image that's hopefully eye-catching and different, and you and other people hopefully like it. Also when you're using live, it's really good as well because if you just miss the shot, if your eyes are closed on the shot that it's picked for you, you can click edit, you can go down to the live button at the bottom and you can actually select the frame that you want to use. Because often we miss the shot based on someone blinking or someone smiling wrong or someone laughing when they shouldn't be laughing, or you know what I mean. Anyway, go create some cool long exposures. So tip 4 is editing your photos really well using the internal edit software on the iPhone. If I just take a quick snap and I want to put it on my story on social media, I'll quickly go in, I'll just quickly do a little bit of editing. It's so quick and so easy. You've got a really good proportion of the tools that you actually would have in Lightroom, minus the spot removal tools and all that sort of thing. But just to do a basic correction, which most of the time when you're putting things on your stories is maybe all you want to do. Maybe some of you guys that are watching don't even edit your photos, so I'll just quickly show you what a huge difference it can make just to go in and spend a minute maybe editing your photo. These iPhones are great, but a lot of the time the photo definitely needs editing. And a lot of the time in your edit, that's when you put your creative spin on it and you make it look how you enjoy your photos to look. Tip 5 is to turn on the rule of thirds grid. Now if you're into photography, you'll know what the rule of thirds is. The rule of thirds is just basically having your points of interest in the third sort of section of each photo, sort of where the lines are on the grid. By having the grid on, it actually helps you when you're actually lining the photo up to make sure that you do that. And also it really helps you to make sure that the horizon's straight. It really helps you to make sure that maybe buildings are straight. Your symmetry of your image is good, so you don't have to crop it after and try and manipulate it and then end up losing a lot of the shot. So I find this really handy all the time to make sure photos are straight and all that sort of thing, and to make sure I'm using the rule of thirds to make my photo as interesting and as eye-catching as possible. So yeah, I think that's actually it. That's my 5 tips. If you enjoyed my 5 tips, hit like and subscribe and let me know what other videos you want to see. I haven't actually made videos in ages. I've been helping my partner with her channel for such a long period of time. Also, in the last 6 months, I've arrived home from New Zealand to England, and I've just been spending loads of time with my family, catching up with everyone. So I suppose I'm back making videos, and yeah, it feels great. So, but yeah, thanks again, guys. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. See you in the next one.